The deadlift is unmatched in its simplicity and its effectiveness at building real-world strength from head to toe. There are no other exercises that protects the back as well as a deadlift does from sport or everyday activity. If you do not deadlift, you are missing out on a fundamental strength and technique that is beneficial to many other movements and everyday functional life. When deadlifting, the setup position is one of the most important parts of the entire lift. How you set up can drastically impact how the rest of the lift goes and how well you protect your back and lift correctly using your legs. To begin with, you want to start with your feet directly underneath your hips with your toes facing forward, and you want to have that bar tight to your shins. When coming down to the start position, I like to hold my hands up overhead and sit back into my hips to ensure that I keep my chest up and back flat until I get to a position where I can reach the bar. From here, my shoulders are slightly out in front of my toes, my hips are higher than my knees, and my back is flat. From this position, you're simply bracing and driving your feet through the floor to stand the weight all the way up, and then you're repeating that same process on the way back down. Very importantly, you always want to keep that bar close to your center of gravity, so keep it tight to the legs, and you're keeping the back flat. Make sure you're bracing your core hard and you're driving hard through your feet to lift with your legs and not with your lower back. Common mistakes that you see people make with this movement is one, when they lift up, their shoulders come back quickly, which causes them to use their quads more and not load their posterior chain correctly. This is a very inefficient way to lift the weight, and it will limit how much weight you can actually lift from the floor. When you're lifting the weight from the floor, you want your shoulders and your hips to rise at the same rate. If one is going up quicker than the other, you're compromising the lift and you're potentially putting your lower back at risk of injury. Another common mistake that people make is that they tend to squat down too much in this start position. One of the most common reasons why people do that is just because they lack the confidence in their lower back. They maybe have injured their back before and they are always very hesitant when loading their posterior chain. So they overcompensate by squatting down and using their quads to lift the weight up. If this is you, I would recommend practicing the deadlift first with a much lighter weight and start to build that confidence and loading your posterior chain as you're hinging through the hips there and driving through the legs. To do the deadlift properly, you need to load your lower back and your posterior chain, which are your glutes and your hamstrings, and doing so allow you to lift much more efficiently and build that fundamental strength in your posterior chain. Another common mistake that people make is that they're unable to have a flat back when they're in that bottom position. That is likely caused from tightness in your hamstrings. So I would spend a lot of time practicing some mobility and also some core stability work. But as well, you want to practice hinging at the hips. You need to be able to move through your hips while keeping your spine neutral. Doing exercises like bird dogs and Romanian deadlifts are a good way to practice bracing your core and just moving about the hips. So when you're deadlifting, it's very essential that you're keeping your core braced and you're just moving about the hips and not letting that spine arch. There are three main things that are non-negotiable when deadlifting. Number one is having that bar tight to your shins. This bar is going to be your center of gravity. So the more that bar is pulled out away from your body, the more torque and tension that is going to be placed on your body. You want to make sure that you're keeping your core tight and you're keeping that bar tight to your shins so you can move the bar as efficiently as possible. The second non-negotiable is starting with your scapula, so your upper back, over the bar. The reason for this is that the bar is hanging from your shoulders and you want the bar to hang straight down and not out in front, because if it does, you're putting excess pressure on your spine, which is unnecessary. You want to keep the bar dangling straight down, so they're just hanging from your shoulders, and you can brace your core and lift through your legs. The third non-negotiable is keeping a flat or neutral spine. You should expect to have a natural slight arch in your lower back, but nothing excessive, and it shouldn't move while under load. You should be bracing your core, your spine should be locked in position, and your spine should be held still for the entire lift as you drive your feet through the ground and lift with your legs.